Welcome into the Fantasy Football Diagnostics Podcast, where we provide you with your weekly diagnosis of everything fantasy football. Whether it's season-long leagues, dynasty, DFS, or sometimes even IDP, we got you covered all year long. Let's do it. Let's get to it. Welcome into the Fantasy Football Diagnostics Podcast. And of course, I'm your host, John June. And on this lovely Thursday evening, got my guy, Greg Penniman. Greg, what's shaking, man?
What's good? What's going on? Late Thursday night. So we got this Thursday night game going on, but we're getting ready for week 11, as we said before. 4 weeks left in the regular season. It's the final stretch. We got to get these wins. Hopefully get some good games this weekend too.
Definitely, man. And we got to break them all down, starting with those 1 p.m. games. Obviously, this is the part 1 breakdown. Part 2 will be out on Saturday, as we will break down the remaining games, as well as give out those starts of the week, as well as place and get money. Your boy got a dub last week, so feeling nice about it. But that's neither here nor there. 1 p.m. games. Here we come. Starting with the 0-8-1. I can't believe we're going to do that all year. 0-8-1. Detroit Lions. Traveling to Cleveland to take on the 5-5 Cleveland Browns. This game has a 43.5 point total. The Browns are 11.5 point favorites here. In terms of the weather, it's okay. In terms of injuries, Nick Chubb, who missed last week with COVID, he seems like he's trending in the right direction, whatever that means. Hopefully it means he'll play on Sunday. Jarvis Landry, he's limited with a knee. On the Detroit side, Jared Goff, he's questionable with an oblique, hasn't really practiced all week. Tim Boyle, who is on IR himself with an injury of his own, has taken all the first-team reps in practice this week as he's been eligible to practice, as he's been designated to return from injured reserve. So something to watch there. He could be making the start there this week, with Jared Goff dealing with this injury and also his ineffectiveness. DeAndre Swift has a shoulder injury, which has kept him limited. So, Greg, after considering all of this, where are you at with this game here and this matchup and the fantasy goodness?
Yeah, I'm going to take the under on this game. I'm going to take Cleveland to cover and Cleveland to win. With Nick Chubb, Cleveland's strengths just match up with Detroit's weakness so much with this rush defense. So, Detroit side, it's pretty easy. It's still Swift and Hawkinson. Swift had easily a season high in carries last week, 33. Snap share season high at 93%. So they have no problem giving him that rushing work, as well as his bread and butter as a passing game. He's at every week RB1. Hopefully last week's Hawkinson performance was a throwaway, where we never get to see something like that again. I still have him in my top 12, just based off talent, and just hopefully he can get more than one target. So on Cleveland side, Nick Chubb, he's due for an explosion game here if he's able to play. Still no Kareem Hunt. One of the best matchups of the week, coming off a 9.7 yards per carry week previous to the COVID week in week 10. So you got to love his week here as a top 3 week for our running backs. Only interested really for the receivers in Austin Hooper if I really need a tight end, and Jarvis Landry is kind of a wide receiver for it, but that's about it.
Nick Chubb definitely trending in that right direction to be an RB1. Like the RB1 potential week here with the matchup, like you were alluding to. I'm going to take the under here. Going to take Cleveland to cover, Cleveland to win. Donovan Peoples-Jones, I think. He's a wide receiver I want to play if I want some upside here.
Okay.
We knew that he wasn't going to probably be useful last week because Belichick's obviously going to take that away. Detroit doesn't have that luxury, so I think he's definitely in play. But Jarvis Landry, a floor wide receiver 3 there. On the Detroit side, Swift, top 3 running back play for sure. TJ Hawkinson, let's hope last week was the outlier there. I still have him as a top 5 tight end this week. But hopefully the change at quarterback will lead to some more targets. Who knows, man? Jared Goff last week at one point in the first quarter had had attempted like 19 passes for like 80 something yards. It was ridiculous there.
Yeah, I think majority of his passes were between this, like before the skyline scrimmage. It was ridiculous. Like,
yeah, so hopefully Tim Boyle can bring something other than that.
Yeah.
Moving on to this next game here, the 4-5 San Francisco 49ers traveling to Jacksonville to take on the 2-7 Jacksonville Jaguars. This game has a 45.5 point total. The Niners are 6.5 point favorites here. In terms of injuries, or well, the weather's okay, but in terms of injuries, James Robinson, he's dealing with a heel and a knee issue. The heel is obviously, from 2 games ago. The knee is new, so he's limited to participate in practice with that. Carlos Hyde, he was limited with a shoulder. On the San Fran side, Elijah Mitchell, he was a DNP with a finger injury, which he actually had surgery on Monday. So Kyle Shanahan believes he will be able to play, but definitely it's a pain tolerance thing, it seems, so we'll have to be mindful of that. Deebo Samuel, he's dealing with a shin injury, so he's a limited participant in practice. And then Jermichael Hasty, the running back, is a DNP with an ankle issue. In terms of this matchup here, I'm going to take the over. Going to take Jacksonville to cover. I almost took Jacksonville to win, but I will take San Fran to win this one. For Jacksonville, James Robinson, he's a volume-based RB2. Obviously has upside for more, especially if Jacksonville could pull out a win here. San Fran can be run on. We didn't see that come to fruition last week because they just boat raced the Rams and took the run game pretty much out of the equation. But James Robinson definitely has some upside. Dan Arnold, he's a tight end one. I don't know how we could get around. There's no getting around this. I mean, whether we like it or not, like Dan Arnold's a tight end one. And then I'm gonna stick to my yeah, definitely, man. Sticking to my original guns here with Jamal Agnew as the Jags receiver to play. Obviously got it done in the rushing game and rushing department last week. Still, is second to Dan Arnold in targets. So I will, definitely, I would just lean towards him. It's uninspiring to play anybody, honestly, but that's just that. Deebo Samuel for the Niners, top 5 wide receiver play. Elijah Mitchell, if he can go, he's a high-end RB2, had 27 carries last week. Obviously, the game script was, very favorable, but I think that, he's been playing really well, and continues to get that work. I really am interested in him. Brandon Ayuk, a wide receiver 3 play. I think there could have been more last week if the Rams were just competitive. He had 4 targets,
Right.
or 5, 4 targets, caught 3 of them. But if that, there was a point where they just didn't even have to throw the football. So if this game is a little bit more competitive than that, which I think it can be, Ayuk is a wide receiver 3. Jacksonville, they have been good against tight ends the last 3 weeks, but they also haven't played any quality tight ends. So George Kittle should have himself a day.
Word. I'm going to take the under. I'm going to take San Fran to cover and San Fran to win. On San Fran side, Jimmy G has been in streaming conversation the last 3 weeks. 3 straight top 15 QB weeks. He's averaging about 2 total touchdowns a game, over 270 passing yards in that span. So I do like him in this matchup in that streaming conversation. Eli Mitchell, he hasn't been practicing, but as you alluded, he is still expected to play according to Kyle Shanahan. So I do have him in that RB2 range. Definitely have Jeff Wilson rostered, though, if you are an Eli Mitchell manager or just a good speculative ad, I think, right now. With any 49ers running back that could possibly get hurt. Deebo Samuel, you got to love him. George Kittle, also got to love him as well. Both ones at their position. On Jacksonville, I'm continuing to ride James Robinson pretty much. He's a low end RB1 play for me. He's the only highlight on this team other than Dan Arnold, of course. My stream of the week, the most, he's been a pretty reliable source. I agree with you. He's a tight end 1. I'm not touching anyone, but I do agree with your point with Agnew. If I had to in deeper leagues, he's definitely the play.
Yeah. Let's move on to this next game. We've got the 5-5 Indianapolis Colts traveling to Buffalo to take on the 6-3 Buffalo Bills. This game is a 50.5 total, 50.5 point total. The Buffalo Bills are 7.5 point favorites. In terms of the weather here, there is some rain expected, also some wind potentially as well. So be on the lookout for that as we get closer to kickoff. But offensive tackle Spencer Brown for Buffalo, he's out as he was placed on the COVID injured reserve list. And then Cole Beasley, he's dealing with a rib injury, so he was a limited participant in practice. Tremaine Edmonds, the linebacker for Buffalo, he was a DMP with a hamstring that's kept him out last game and kept him out of practice all last week. And then on the Colts side, Darius Leonard, he's a limited participant in practice, dealing with an ankle injury that he's been battling all year. So, with that being said, I'm going to take the under here. I'm going to take the Colts to cover. I'm going to take the Bills to win, though. In terms of the fantasy, stop me if you heard this before, but Josh Allen will be the QB1 this week. Stephon Diggs came through last week, almost finishing as the wide receiver 1. Should do so again this week, finishing as a top 3 option. Cole Beasley, I like a lot this week as well. Emmanuel Sanders and Gabe Davis are definitely both in play. I would lean Sanders, though, as he's been on the field more, almost 80% of the time. I think Dawson Knox also in a great spot last week. Saw him come back, last week against the Jets, and so the matchup this week is great. So I definitely like that. On the Colts side, JT has his work cut out for him this week. The Buffalo run defense, definitely good. But honestly, I don't think it matters anymore. The Colts are feeding him. They have the in-season hard knocks. They are aware of his streak of 100 yards from scrimmage and a touchdown. He has the opportunity to take that up to 8 straight games with 100 yards from scrimmage and a touchdown. It hasn't been done since LaDainian Tomlinson in 2006. So, the Colts know, that the matchup, in this particular matchup, they have to give the ball to JT regardless of what this matchup looks like on paper. They have to feed him the ball. So Michael Pittman he's always going to be highly ranked for me each week, and that's no different this week, even with the matchup against Trey White. Michael Pittman's, he's a big receiver, physical. He's leads his team in targets. There was I forgot where I read this stat, but he leads the leads the Colts on third down receptions. He has like 33% of the Colts targets on third down.
He's the most important player in that team. In my book, he's extending drives for JT himself. Like, awesome.
Yeah, man. I've been trying to get the JT Pittman stack in some leagues, but if you could make that happen, I think it's real nice. But Greg, what say you on this matchup here?
Yeah, I'm gonna take the under. I'm also gonna take the Colts to cover and the Bills to win. On the Bills side, I do have Josh Allen as a QB1. Stephon Diggs definitely getting his mojo back as that wide receiver 1. Emmanuel Sanders, I do like him as a favorable complimentary receiver over Beasley. He's a little banged up, and I think Emmanuel Sanders has the easier matchup. They're both wide receiver 3s, but I'm going to put Sanders in that some low-end wide receiver 2 upside. Dawson Knox, in his first game back, they play a lot, so you like that. Wasn't really needing that blowout game, so I think he has a bounce back here as a tight end 1. And on the Indy side, it's real tough. The JT and Pittman, all the guys you're looking at, of course, every week, but they're in the toughest spots. I'm definitely going to roll JT out there. I'm going to roll Pittman out there, but I'm bumping down to low-end wide receiver 2. The Bills have not given up over 100 receiving yards at all this year to any receiver. So, but the high target share, I think he still gives you a solid floor. It's going to be interesting. It's a tough test for definitely these Indy stars.
The question is, though, Greg, are you starting him in the League of Extraordinary People?
I had him back and forth. I did slide him back in today over Bateman because, I was ready to plug and play AB, but, AB's got his own situations going on. So, I'm starting 3 running backs this week, which means it will have to bump out either Pittman or Bateman. So, we'll see. It's gonna come down to Sunday morning, really.
I think you should just do it, man.
You're right. Bateman got a Q tag now. Like you're right.
Moving on to this next game here, we've got the 3-7 Miami Dolphins traveling to MetLife to take on the 2-7 New York Jets. This game has a 45-point total. The Miami Dolphins are 3.5-point favorites. In terms of injuries, the weather's okay, but in terms of injuries, Miami, they're okay for the most part. Just news about players that aren't coming back this week, like Will Fuller, Malcolm Brown, Jason McCourty. His injury is season-ending, so that's that news there. For the Jets, Zach Wilson questionable with that knee, so Joe Flacco is set to start. And this is when I question why I root for this team. But Brandon Echols, placed on injured reserve with a thigh injury. So that's that. In terms of this game, Greg, where are you at?
I'm gonna take the over. I'm gonna take the Jets to cover, and I'm gonna take the Jets to win. Actually, on the Jets side, I mean, Joe Flacco's gonna be safe. He's not gonna make crazy mistakes. The Mike White era is over, unfortunately. For now. I'm gonna say for now though. But yeah, Joe Flacco should be safe. I do like Michael Carter still has a high in RB2. It's coming off a season high in carries, 16. So you like to see that, just increasing usage. Corey Davis and Elijah Moore. Moore to me has the higher upside in every game. Davis isn't as boom or bust though. I think he gives you a safer floor if he's not gonna have a big day. And he also is gonna usually get the most targets. I think they're both startable. But I just kind of have those rules for them more. If you need points, I think he's the play. He's arguably the best player on the team. Like he's been playing really well talent wise, and you love to see him down the line. Miami, Myles Gaskin, he's a solid RB2 in a very favorable matchup. After opening the season where he only had one game with double digit carries, after week 6, his rushing volume has gone up crazy amount. He's averaging 15.3 carries, getting at least 4 targets in the last 4 weeks. So you're seeing that Myles Gaskin last year, which is good. And Jalen Waddle, he's a wide receiver 2 in PPR leagues. Mike Gesicki, tied in one season, is going to continue. I mean, even though he had a down week last week, he at least got 7 targets. It wasn't like a Hawkinson where he got 1 target. He's still involved. So I'm rolling Mike Gesicki out there.
Yeah, I'm gonna take the under here. I'm gonna take Miami to cover, Miami to win. I do agree with your sentiment though. Joe Flacco does kind of like steady this a little bit, where this thing won't the offense will actually be somewhat productive out there. But from the Miami side, I think Tua is in a great spot. I absolutely love Jalen Waddle this week against the struggling Jet secondary. Mike Gesicki should also have himself a day, so I'm with you there. I'm also willing to play, like, again, Myles Gaskin hasn't been great to start the year, like you said, has come on as of late, and, gets a great matchup here against a Jets rush defense that is 31st in rush defense EP expected points added over the last 3 weeks on early downs. They're 32nd on the year, and they're 32nd in pass defense and over the last 3 weeks and 31st on the year. So definitely looking at this Miami offense as a place to get some fantasy production. On the Jets side, I think Joe Flacco should be serviceable. Like this Miami defense has been better as of late, but Joe Flacco, again, like you said, should should bring a calming presence to this offense. I think Jamison Crowder. I mean, I totally agree with you. Elijah Moore, Corey Davis, both in play. Corey Davis has had 5 targets in every game he's played. Elijah Moore has 4 touchdowns over his last 3 games, I think it is. And then Jamison Crowder does have experience playing with Joe Flacco, gets a matchup here against Miami, which is the worst matchup or the worst team against slot receivers. So I think that there's an opportunity here for Crowder to make an impact here. And then Ty Johnson, Why am I gonna bring up Ty Johnson before Michael Carter? Michael
Yeah,
Carter, RB2. Curious to see, does Joe Flacco check it down as much as Mike White did?
word.
Running backs had a 40% target share with Mike White at quarterback. Don't know if that happens with Joe Flacco, but I think that we definitely still see that, to some extent. So Michael Carter, RB2, with upside for more. Ty Johnson, RB3 or 4.
Yeah, I love Ty Johnson. He's been like a perfect like running back 3, running back 4. Like every week you need some emergency, Ty Johnson's just ready to fill in and get you something.
Moving on to this next matchup, we've got the 3-6 Washington football team traveling to Carolina to take on the 5-5 Carolina Panthers. This game has a 43-point total where the Carolina Panthers are 3-point favorites. In terms of the weather, okay. In terms of the injuries, Carolina's okay. Washington, on the other hand, Antonio Gibson, guess what it is? It's that shin. Limited participant practice. Curtis Samuel, don't even know why he's on injury report. Haven't seen him for
I forgot he was on the
Lord knows
roster.
how long.
Yeah.
But he's doubtful with a groin injury. Kendall Fuller, he's limited participant in practice with a knee. That's a cornerback for Washington. So in terms of this game here, I'm going to take the under, going to take Carolina to cover, Carolina to win. This game has a lot of storylines in it. You've got Cam Newton, obviously, returning home to Carolina in his first game as a Carolina, or his second game as a Carolina Panther. But again, this is all assuming that he starts the game.
Right.
But you've also have Ron Rivera,
Yep.
the head coach for Washington, making his return to Carolina, where he was the Carolina Panthers head coach for several years in Carolina. So this game makes it really interesting. I mean, Cam Newton, Ron Rivera, they came into Carolina together in that regime. Carolina, when Ron Rivera was hired as the head coach, their first draft pick there was Cam Newton. So I think that it's very interesting there. You've got Scott Turner, who's the offensive coordinator in Washington. They know Cam Newton very well, designed an entire offense around him. So these things are all very interesting to me, but like I said, I am taking the under, Carolina to cover, Carolina to win. CMC, he's back as a top 3 option at the running back position. He's got some company now with some young boys, but he's definitely a top 3 option. I think Cam can be a quarterback 1 again, assuming, again, he starts. DJ Moore gets a boost, as does Robbie Anderson with Cam in the lineup on the Washington side. Antonio Gibson, I mean, last week it doesn't change anything for me, bro. It's
crazy, man.
He's still 20. Like, if you take the 2 touchdowns away, he's been what he's been all year. 20 carries for 66 yards.
Yep.
It's been what he's been all year. I don't want to hear it. So, sorry, Ramondre Stevenson is cooking right now.
Yeah, I just saw his run, actually, too. I saw that. I started Harris in 1 league, Stevenson in another, so I split it up, see what happens.
And then Antonio Gibson, RB2 again this week. J.D. McKissick has some upside as a pass catcher, and then Terry McLaurin has less upside this week, but still deserves a spot in your lineup regardless.
Yeah, I'm going to take also the under, Carolina the Panther, Carolina to cover, and Carolina to win. On Carolina side, yeah, if Cam Newton's getting the start, he's in that QB 13 to 15 range. He's got borderline QB1 value though. CMC RB1 lining up. Hopefully this is the best news for the receivers though, for sure. Who else in a great matchup, of course. DJ Moore got as a wide receiver 2. I'm gonna need to see 2 weeks in a row from Robbie to get him in that flex conversation. But if you're desperate, I think he could play with the excellent matchup. On Washington side, yeah, it's crazy. AG seems to be back from the dead, but yeah, I agree with that stat line. If you take the 2 touchdowns away, it's exactly what he's been doing. So he's a touchdown dependent RB2 for me. Same spot here versus Carolina. I think he's playable. The bad rush, the really good rush defense, just like last week with Tampa Bay. Terry McLaurin, low end wide receiver 2 for me. And it looks like both these tight ends are not going to end up playing. So we got John Bates, but I'm not really touching that unless I'm like in a 2 tight end league or something like that.
Yeah, that would be, you'd be real desperate to catch me up playing John Bates. Moving on to this next matchup here, we've got this 6-3 Baltimore Ravens traveling to Chicago to take on the 3-6 Chicago Bears. 45-point total this game has. The Baltimore Ravens are 4.5-point favorites. In terms of weather, it's okay. In terms of the injuries, Latavius Murray, limited participant with an ankle. Rashad Bateman, he was a DNP with an illness. Hollywood Brown was a DNP with a thigh. Lamar Jackson was a DNP with an illness. On the Chicago side, Eddie Jackson dealing with a hamstring injury. He was a limited participant in practice. Darnell Mooney, he's dealing with a foot injury. He was limited. And Allen Robinson was a DNP with a hamstring coming out of the bye. So that's not great news. Greg, where are you with this matchup?
I'm going to take the under as well. I'm going to take Baltimore to cover and Baltimore to win the game. On Baltimore side, Lamar Jackson and his offense is due for a bounce back. I like that the running game is slimmed down to kind of the 2 people, Latavius Murray and Devontae Freeman. If Latavius Murray is able to go, I think both of them are in that RB3 category. I think we'll definitely see some timeshare between the 2. Hollywood Brown, I expect them to blow up day in this excellent matchup for him. I got Rashad Bateman. He did pop up on the injury report, but is he able to play? He's a low end wide receiver 2 for me. He's getting 7 targets a game. Had 8 last week to Sammy Watkins 3. He had a 55% snap share to Watkins 32. So you like those numbers for him kind of leaping over Watkins in the depth chart. And Mark Andrews, keep playing him as a top 5 tight end play. On Chicago side, Justin Fields got some momentum. Definitely before the bye. I think he's in that 2 QB league option play. I think he's back in that conversation. Hopefully he starts finding his way through this league. Dave Montgomery, though, borderline RB1 with his volume. He's the highlight of the team right now. And the only pass catcher I want is Cole Kmet, man. I mean, 6 receptions for 87 yards last week. Team leading in targets in week 9. So that's all I really want.
Yeah, I'm going to take the over here. I'm going to take Chicago to cover.
Okay.
I'm going to take Baltimore to win. I think we get a little shootout here. I think you're going to have 2 quarterbacks just making plays for their teams. On the Baltimore side, Lamar Jackson, obviously he's a QB1. Hollywood and Bateman, they both got, Hollywood obviously he's wide receiver 1 territory. Yeah. He's been one all year. Bateman, I think, has a wide receiver. He's a wide receiver 2, but I think he has some upside for more potentially this week as well. Mark Andrews has a ton of upside, especially if these wide receivers are limited in any way, especially Hollywood. And then I totally agree with what you're saying about the running backs. I like the fact that this thing gets slimmed down a little bit to just a 2-man rotation. I mean, we've seen Tyson Williams still involved a little bit, but he's not getting much work. On the on the Chicago side, I absolutely love Justin Fields this week. I mean, we've seen back-to-back games of him getting better, and it just looks different. He looks more comfortable. He's running around more. So I love it this week from Justin Fields potentially. I think the matchup is great as well. David Montgomery, he's back to being that workhorse, so just light him up. It's Cole Kmet. I think the matchup is great, and like you said, he had 9 targets last week. He was phenomenal, so I think he could definitely continue to do that. And I think with Fields playing better, Darnell Mooney, he had a good game in week against Pittsburgh, caught a touchdown, played well, and Allen Robinson was also more involved as well. So if this game does shoot out like I think it can. I think, all of these guys, again, with Justin Fields playing better, all these guys could potentially have some upside.
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, Allen Robinson's on a lot of free agents right now roster, so it'd be nice to maybe add him and get some rest of season value.
Yeah. All right, moving on to this next matchup here. We've got the 5-4 New Orleans Saints traveling to Philadelphia to take on the 4-6 Philadelphia Eagles. This game has a 43.5 point total, where the Eagles are 2 point favorites. In terms of the injuries, Miles Sanders, he was set as injured, designated to return from injured reserve, so he returned to practice on Wednesday. Dallas Goedert, he's dealing with a concussion, so he was limited. On the New Orleans side, Alvin Kamara, this one's tricky. He returned to practice on Wednesday, got a limited practice in, but then was a DNP on Thursday. So he's questionable with that knee that kept him out last week. So we have to find out, we're left to wonder, was the DNP on Thursday, was that a setback from the limited practice he got in on Wednesday? Don't have an answer to that right now. But maybe by the time you listen to this, we'll have one. But be on the lookout for that. Taysom Hill, he was a DNP with a foot injury. CJ Gardner-Johnson, the safety defensive back, the Saints, he was put on injured reserve, and then Tony Jones, the running back, he was designated to return from injured reserve there. So in terms of this game here, I'm going to take the over. I'm actually going to take the Eagles to cover. I'm going to take the Eagles to win here. On the New Orleans side, Alvin Kamara, Mark Ingram, whichever one of these backs it is. I mean, if Kamara goes, he's not going to see the work that he was seeing to start the year. I could see this very well becoming like a two-person backfield here. But so Kamara, Ingram, they're both obviously nice options. If Kamara can't go, then Ingram gets even upgraded even more. Adam Troutman, I know Greg, you wrote him down for the waiver wire. I'm not a huge fan of him just because of the way he's been like doing football things, but the matchup here is phenomenal.
It is.
The target share has been really good, so I don't think you can ignore it here. Philadelphia, they're really good against wide receivers, so not really all that interested in Deontay Harris or Marquez Callaway. On the Philly side, Jalen Hurts might have to air it out this week against New Orleans defense. That's difficult to run the ball on. Gotta love that. We love that upside. I think this was his breakout game too, if I'm not mistaken.
Not the Arizona game, or was it?
Oh, maybe this was his first start.
You're probably right. Yeah, the Arizona game was just crazy.
Yeah, the Arizona game was wild.
Yeah.
Damante Smith, he's been rolling, so I think you have to continue to like him this week against a New Orleans pass defense that over the last 3 weeks on first and second down is 29th ranked pass defense in terms of drop back EPA. Dallas Goedert, if he plays, limited with a concussion, he's a tight end 1. And then I like Quez Watkins to have an impact in the passing game. He's one of the guys that's underperformed in the touchdown department and simply doing a yards to touchdown conversion. So, I definitely like him to make some plays, playing in the slot for the Eagles.
Yeah, I'm with you. I have the Eagles covering and the Eagles winning. On the New Orleans side, I do like Trevor Siemian as in streaming conversation. Both his games since he's come in and started 249 yards and then 298 with 2 touchdowns each in those games playing Philly. So you like this matchup here. Kamara, I'm with you. If he's playing, of course you have Kamara in. If not, Mark Ingram is a RB1 upside, plug and play. Definitely top 15. Adam Troutman, I haven't yet deeper league tight end that I want. 3 straight weeks with at least 6 targets. Got the excellent matchup with Philly, who's given up the 3rd most targets in the league at 9. And on Philly side, of course, Jalen Hurts' QB1 season continues. That Detroit game, though, was really a turning point for this Eagles team with them running the ball. Miles Sanders back. I think he'll probably lead in carries, but I do think Jordan Howard gets his own timeshare as well. I don't know if Boston Scott will be involved anymore, but I wouldn't be surprised if they use all 3 of them. Damante Smith, he's a solid wide receiver too. He's been money the last couple of weeks, starting to finally gel more with Hurts. Of course, with less targets and with less routes. Like they go run the football now, and now he's doing what he has to do. That's fantasy for you sometimes. And yeah, Dallas Goedert's been banged up, so I mean, yeah, they don't have to really rely on Damante Smith and Quez Watkins, so maybe get some deep league play.
Fantasy can be so interesting sometimes.
Crazy.
Moving on to this next matchup, we got the 1-8 Houston Texans traveling to Tennessee to take on the 8-2 Tennessee Titans. First place AFC Tennessee Titans. This game has a 44.5 point total. Tennessee Titans are 10-point favorites. In terms of the weather, we're okay here. In terms of injuries, Houston's okay. On the Tennessee side, Jeremy McNichols, he's a DNP with a concussion. Derrick Henry, he's obviously not going to play in this game. Not expected to play for quite some time, but there's optimism apparently for January if all goes well. That would put us at the beginning of January.
Time.
That would put us at fantasy finals, fantasy semifinals. Probably means more for the Titans playoffs than it does, especially if they're locking up a 1 seed. But if they need the 1 seed,
they're gonna use him. They gotta feed that man.
Just saying. But in terms of this game here, I am gonna take the under. I am gonna take Tennessee to cover. Oh wait, it's not my turn, Greg. It's your turn. Go ahead, my brother.
Yeah, I'm gonna take the under. Tennessee to cover and Tennessee to win. On Houston side is still the same. Brandon Cooks, that's all I want. He's like the best of that wide receiver 3-pack. He's in a good matchup as well, so continue to roll him out there. And on Tennessee side, Ryan Tannehill, I love him. I like him in this matchup. He's a top 15 play for me. That Dante Foreman revenge game, yes sir. You already know. So I expect a top 30 week from him. He's definitely the running back I want rostered in this offense right now, leading the running backs in carries and receptions last week. And he got the revenge game, of course. AJ Brown, you're continuing to fire him up. I still trust him. He's still the alpha in this offense, and he's got wide receiver 1 upside. The targets are there. Marcus Johnson is a deeper league flex option, I think, though.
Yeah, I am going to take the under. I'm going to take Tennessee to cover. I'm going to take Tennessee to win. I think Tyrod has some streaming appeal here. Tennessee, again, they have not been a good pass defense. They've been one to target, and so I like that potentially there. And then Brandon Cooks, wide receiver 2 option. I'm somewhat willing to take a shot here on Nico Collins, the rookie. He's been, making some plays and with an opportunity here against the Tennessee pass defense. The Houston being a negative game script, I think it makes well for Nico Collins potentially to have some plays. Plus, he's a rookie.
After
Houston just came out of the bye, so
Justin Fields too after the bye. There you go. Maybe.
Hey man, I mean, Justin Fields was showing signs before the bye.
True.
On Tennessee side, AJ Brown, definitely wide receiver 1. Ryan Tannehill, QB1. Totally with you on a Dante Foreman revenge game. I think he's a low end RB2. AP especially with Old McNichols, I think we see a 2-man backfield, which would be nice for fantasy. So AP, RB3, RB4, especially in some positive game script here. And Marcus Johnson actually led the Titans in targets last week. Has been on the field, has been running basically as a number 2 receiver without Julio Jones. So I think he's playable again. Because he will be on the field. AJ Brown will see a lot of attention. I think Marcus Johnson definitely is in play.
Yeah.
Moving on to this next matchup here, we got the 8-2 Green Bay Packers traveling to Minnesota to take on the 4-5 Minnesota Vikings. This game has a 49.5 point total. The Green Bay Packers are 2.5 point favorites here. In terms of weather, we're actually okay. This game's in a dome, so we're okay. In terms of the injuries, Aaron Rodgers, he's dealing with a toe that had him questionable, kept him out of practice this on Thursday. Aaron Jones, he will miss this game with a knee injury, suffered the MCL sprain, so could miss this week and next, and potentially the week after, but we'll see. MVS, Marquez Valdez-Scantling, questionable with a hip injury. Who is limited? Alan Lazard, he was DNP with a shoulder injury. Minnesota, they're okay. Couple of injuries on the defensive side of the ball, but they do get Harrison Smith back, the safety. In terms of the game here, I am going to take the under. I am going to take Green Bay to cover. I am going to take Green Bay to win. On the Green Bay side, Davante Adams, top wide receiver option. Aaron Rodgers, a QB1 option. And then A.J. Dillon, I mean, there's no Aaron Jones. There's no Kylan Hill. A.J. Dillon should be in line for some serious volume here. So I definitely will play him. On the Minnesota side, Dalvin Cook, RB1, Justin Jefferson, wide receiver 1, Kirk Cousins. Am weary a little bit, but again, is going off against Aaron Rodgers. These games have in the past been a little back and forth. So, Kirk Cousins can obviously get it done. Tyler Conklin, again, between him and Dan Arnold, I don't know why these guys aren't on the rosters.
Roster these guys, man.
And then Adam Thielen, definitely in play as a wide receiver 2 option.
Yeah, I'm gonna take the over. I'm gonna take Green Bay to cover and Green Bay to win. Definitely love Aaron Rodgers in this matchup and all his pieces, mainly A.J. Dillon and Davante. I think they're both, Davante being a wide receiver 1. I think A.J. Dillon is also in RB1 category. Randall Cobb is probably the only complimentary piece I would consider. He's got the good matchup in the slot, and so if you need solid PPR receiver for deeper leagues, I think he's a play. On Minnesota, I do trust Kirk in this offense, and as well, I have Kirk ranked in the top 15. Dalvin Cook still firing him up again as the RB1. I'm still waiting on that huge explosion day like that we saw many times last year. The man has got 11 red zone carries last week and only 1 touchdown. I need a big huge day from Dalvin Cook. Jefferson, love him. Thielen, wide receiver 2 for me, and yeah, I'm with you on Conklin, man. Conklin, Darren Arnold, streamers of the year.
And we could actually call them streamers of the year because they're literally
still rostered. Yep.
So
yep. Crazy.
All right, well, that's it for the 1 p.m. games, y'all. We will catch y'all tomorrow, or Saturday rather, for when we break down part 2 and give out starts to the week as well as play some get money. So until next time, we're out of here. Peace, y'all.